And we start off here with the AATBirds recap. Eagles, Packers. We'll get into everything. Here we go.
Sure that we own that back half defensively. Love, empty set, feels the pressure, he goes down. Zach Bond showing off the speed and athleticism. Hurts, looking the other way. Lofts it, Barkley, end zone, makes the grab, touchdown, Philadelphia. On third down. Hand it, Barkley, touchdown, Eagles. Saquon with us.
Jalen Hurts.
Second down and 7. Hurts with time. Lofts it over the top. Brown's got it. Here goes A.J. Brown. Blinding speed. Brown. Touchdown. 67 yards.
The Jets on the edge.
Set up the screen. Oh, it's blown up by Dean. Flag is down. Dean with a big hit on Wilson. Back to 2nd and 11. Love. Floats over the middle, dangerous, picked off. Reed Blankenship. Josh Allen with 15 rushing touchdowns last year. Instead, he gives it to his running back. And Barkley fights. Touchdown. Hand off Barkley. Barkley, look out, home run. Saquon Barkley has that big playability. From Brazil, Willis slips. Willis steps up, goes down, game ender. Who else but Zach Bond? What a day.
And the Eagles come away in Brazil with a 1-0 record, winning 34-29. Got the heart beaten. Two really good teams. Hey, listen, you had a little bit of what it was last year in terms of the real close. But the end of the year, this is something last year at the end of the year they would have lost. And for me, yeah, there were a lot of issues you have to clean up. But again, that's what week 1 is. They came away with the victory. And, right now, that's what I'm focusing on. Now it's gone to next week in the Atlanta Falcons. But Chip, what did you think? What was one of your big takeaways? If you want to go offense first, defense first, whatever you want to go first, what is your biggest takeaway from what you saw?
I mean, is it possible that I'm more optimistic than you are right now? That was the most pessimistic introduction I think you've given in the years that I've known you, Johnny.
Listen, it was.
Well,
I was edge of my seat.
The game last year, they would have lost, and
they would have though. You can't tell me that's
they were a bad team at the end of last year. We said week 1 last year that Jalen Hurts was 95% of the offense, and it wasn't sustainable. Watch that show back. I called it all the way back in September that was not going to be a sustainable form of offense. Here's what I'll tell you. I expected Saquon Barkley to carry the ball over 20 times. He carried the ball over 20 times. I expected them to use their weapons all over the place. They used AJ. They used Devontae. They used Dallas Goedert. I expected the wide receiver 3 position to not be impactful because it was really weapon number 6. Like we talked about, Jahan Dotson had 1 target. I expected the offensive line to do good things with the exception of a couple of miscues and getting rehooked up because Jason Kelsey isn't the center anymore. Mekhi Becton looks like an absolute stud. I expected this Eagles team to look a little rusty. Through the first quarter, they looked rusty. My wife had to talk me down off the ledge after the first quarter because, again, it had been 4 offensive plays and 2 turnovers.
Yeah.
This Eagles team has got to play in the preseason. I'm glad that they didn't because then they turned it on. I still expect this team to win 13 games this season. That was a tough game to win, and they came out and they won it. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, there were positives. Big time, there were positives. Don't get me wrong there. It was frustrating to see the turnovers. And I think the one big focal point is looking at the defense and how they were able to stand up and force only 2 field goals. And that's huge because when you really look at the game and look how the game shaped up and how it ended, that was huge. And it was big in terms of what they were able to do. Yeah, did the defense have some mishaps? And, unfortunately, both teams' defenses did. One, the playing surface was not very
The playing surface was awful.
So that was terrible to see. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was the humidity down there, the sod. I don't know what it was. If there was, I don't know. But it's pretty despicable for the NFL to put the 2 teams, because both teams were were slipping. You saw Jordan Love slipping a couple times. You saw Hurts. You saw the DBs. It was a lot. And
I think when you're talking about the field, that's if you remember our Super Bowl, we could not get literally any pressure from our edge rushers because
yeah,
they couldn't get their footing. And I think you saw a repeat of that last night
yeah, you did. You
for,
did
for
see
both
some.
teams.
Yeah, no, you did see some of that. It was. Listen, you want to see more out of Bryce Huff, especially on the field. He only had, I think it was 26 snaps. Brandon Graham had 26, I think, and then I think he actually had 20, 25, 24 maybe, and then Nolan Smith had just about the same. So again, they used a lot of defenders. Vic's kind of feeling his way out in terms of what he wants to do. Zach Bond though, 15 tackles,
Oh, mama,
2
that was
sacks,
beautiful.
all over the place. Hey, he proved me wrong because honestly, I thought it was going to be Dean. And then when White comes back, Dean and White, but Dean had some really good flashes too. I think White has a role in this defense, especially against the pass and everything there is a role for him, in my opinion, on this defense. But what concerned me a little bit was them really not playing Kealy Ringo, especially with the guy. I know Avante Maddox is a veteran. He's played nickelback because no Isaiah Rodgers, but he just, I'm not going to say
Listen,
he's cooked, but
I
it
know
was a tough
what you're
watch to
saying.
watch him on the field.
I know what you're saying. If you are going as far down as our third and fourth string corner, as one of your biggest complaints of the night, it was a good night overall.
Yeah.
I think some things that you need to watch for, Quinyon Mitchell looked phenomenal. But then there was a couple plays that he looked like a rookie.
Again, this is all stuff that they can get worked out, watching the
Agreed.
film. Look, the run defense had some good stout,
Yep.
especially in the red zone and then also beginning of the game, but there were some gaping holes and, there a couple of really long runs for, not only Josh Jacobs, but their third string running back,
Well,
Emmanuel Wilson.
that's what I was going to bring up. I think that, they actually did a really good job of shutting Josh Jacobs down.
He had that one really long run, but mostly,
he wasn't even near the end zone. Wilson, though, had a really good game. And it almost says to me like they were watching, they had personnel groups. So like they maybe game planned the wrong way. They saw Wilson as more of a backing, as a blocking back. So they backed off a little bit when they saw him coming into the game, and then they adjusted. But the linebacker play was good. CJ Gardner-Johnson, he led the team in tackles, I believe. But still had a couple missed tackles.
Yeah, he had a couple of miscues. Reed had a couple of miscues. He had that really nice interception because Bond was kind of blocking the tight end, so the throw had to go a little bit off the edge. He made a hell of a play there.
Look, we said on our preview show, there's a lot of parallels with this Packers and Eagles teams. They both have young quarterbacks. They both have good wide receiving cores. They both have new running backs. There was a lot of parallels, and the Eagles did what they had to do. Now, the turnover thing, if you look at Jalen Hurts' last 10 games,
the offense, because there's
just last 10 games, even going into last season, he has not been as protective with the ball as he was during his MVP campaign. So that is something that you're going to have to clean up. I think the big thing with Jalen Hurts is you don't have to single-handedly win games this year. You've got a plethora of weapons. Use them. I don't think that the quarterback option runs were good when they were called, and he maybe misread him because he went absolutely nowhere. But he also got down and didn't take too many really big hits. And then for every single time that we say that he's got to protect the ball, he throws an absolute dime to Saquon Barkley in the front corner of the end zone. That was probably one of the best passes I've seen Jalen Hurts throw.
Yeah, and listen, I'm going to bring up before I have a couple stats I want to bring up, a couple things that I saw that I had saved I want to bring up on the show, but I want to talk about Saquon Barkley for a little bit.
Let's talk about Saquon Barkley.
It's just, seeing him with the Giants, he had his flashes here and there. When he played at Penn State, he had his flashes. You saw what he was going to be coming out. You thought you knew what he was going to be. Watching the game, beautiful ball by Jalen. Nice catch, got his foot in because officially touchdown. And then I was like, oh no, I don't know. I don't know if he got that foot in. No, the nice.
It
nice
was from
toe tap.
I don't know how you question that. It looked good from the first view of it to me.
Well, I questioned it. Maybe my eyes were deceiving me potentially.
I think they
But
had the Eagles blockers on where bad stuff just happens to us.
yeah, maybe that's it. But seeing his burst, I think that's one thing that you watch, and he kicks it into that next gear so fast and so quickly. It's unbelievable. And his biggest run of the night, he essentially was bottled up, cut it over, and found the hole and went flying for 34 yards. And just watching him play, it was the most touchdowns in an Eagles debut since 20 years ago. 2004, Terrell Owens had 3 touchdowns against the New
That's
York
not
Jets.
20 years ago. You did not just say that.
It is 20 years ago.
T.O.'s debut was 20 years ago?
Yeah, 2004.
Oh my God. I hated every bit of that sentence.
I know. But yeah,
Why would you say that?
Sorry, it's tough. It is tough
20
to hear.
years?
20 years.
Okay.
Time goes fast when you're having fun, apparently. But no, Barkley was unbelievable. And listen, I'll even give I love seeing what I saw out of the offense and Kellen Moore. Will Shipley in there as well.
That was a nice little play design.
Kenneth Gainwell had a couple nice plays. The one catch he had, breaking tackles, getting the first down. He's really good blocking back, but having 2 running backs on the field, the same 21 personnel on the same at the same time, they went five wide. I know tight end was in there and stuff too, but empty backfield, different things that they were doing. The motion, that's what I want to bring up here. This was the first picture I wanted to bring up to you was the motion. When the Eagles used motion, which was 66% of the time. Last year, they used it 23% of the time. When the motion was used, Jalen Hurts was 15 of 21, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yep.
When it wasn't used, no motion, 5 of 13, 66 yards, 2 interceptions. To me, you do a disservice to your quarterback because you look at all the teams that use a ton of motion. They use it to help the quarterback and make it of their advantage, like a Brock Purdy in the San Francisco 49ers. Before him, it was Jimmy Garoppolo. You're using the motion to, one, help your receivers get open. And, the Rams use it a lot. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They're not the fastest guys, but you get them moving, get them in. It's going to work out great. And listen, that's how Dak Prescott got really, really good with Kellen Moore, was using the motion because it helps the quarterback. It's an advantage to them. And I thought this was great to see.
And I think that, kind of going to even another level of that, it also for what I noticed last night depended on who they put in motion. So when they put Shipley in motion, it did what it did. When you put Gainwell in motion, when you put Calcaterra in motion, when you put Dotson in motion, it did what it did. What really got exciting is when they put A.J. Brown in motion, when they put Devontae Smith in motion, when they put those guys in motion, the defense kind of they got in a little bit of a trouble. The other thing, kind of going with you were able to run motion plays, is when they were breaking the huddle. They broke the huddle quick. The plays got in quick. There wasn't a relay from offensive coordinator through Nick Sirianni to Jalen Hurts. It went Kellen Moore to Jalen Hurts. Let's get to the line with 22 seconds left, and then we can actually do some pre-play stuff.
So a big reason they put guys in motion too, to see what the defense is, see if then they move, see if they're in zone, see if they're in man, kind of, helps the quarterback because Jalen Hurts is making the calls, and you saw him making the calls, making the line calls, all that stuff. And,
which you do have to do now that Kelsey is retired.
Yes. And honestly, usually it is the quarterback that makes that call. It's the center, because I forget what I was watching, but they were talking about it. And the center usually is not the one that makes all the line call, all the blitz calls, all that stuff. The center will point out certain things, but no, it gives Jalen the opportunity to be able to do that. There were, like we mentioned, there were a couple throws that you got to clean up the turnovers. Some of the stuff you just can't throw. You can't take points off of the board. You're in the red zone. You see a couple guys And of course, AJ slipped as well, so that didn't
Right.
help the situation. He could have maybe knocked it down if he didn't slip, if he didn't catch it, 50-50 ball, but can't take points off the board because that would have been an 8-point game then. So it's just, that's the one thing. And again, also the whole tush push thing. It's a struggle right now. They have to work on that because, Kelsey was a big proponent of it and how low he got. And, Juergens wasn't getting as low as you saw in a couple of things. And, almost disaster when they tried to do it and it was a fumble and Saquon was there just to jump right on it, to be able to kick the field goal and to have a 5-point lead. But
real quick, I like these comments that Joe's rolling in here. So Joe said, I would like Hurts to have a sense of urgency when he drops back. It seems like his progressions are still nonchalant, then he bails. The one thing that they said right on the broadcast, which was kind of concerning to me, that the national broadcasters, and I don't even know who the heck those guys were, noticed, is that he bails to the right consistently. So that does make it his scramble game a little more one-dimensional. And then he also said, it looked to me like his RPO is an issue. If the ends are committing to stop Hurts from running, why not play action pass to the running back and just pass it to the running back? Again, it was a week 1 game. And Joe, I mean, these are great observations. It was a week 1 game where they hadn't had any time in the regular season. I think that they will clean that stuff up. I want to talk about him against the blitz, because when he was blitzed, is this one of your points?
Let me see. Yes.
Okay,
so
then you bring up the blitz, because I was prepared for tonight's show, Johnny.
6 of 7, 91 yards, touchdown, 158.3 passer rating. That's a hell of a stat when you look at
158.3 for those of you playing the home game is a quarterback perfect passer rating. What are you laughing at?
Yeah, you're playing the home game. It's a good one. I like that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a perfect passer rating against the blitz. So, yes, his dropbacks may have been nonchalant, Joe. You might be right. But when it came time to be a little more decisive, you heard what Johnny said, 1 incomplete pass and a perfect passer rating. So I do think that he was going through his progressions when he was forced. He's not your stereotypical drop back quarterback. He's just not, but I also don't want him to be. I want him to get the ball into the hands of his weapons as quick as possible. I actually forgot how very fast AJ Brown is in the open field. And then I saw it again. AJ Brown is fast as hell.
Yeah.
So let's get him the ball as quick as we can. Why? Because you see what happens.
Give him his flowers, but also you got to give it up to Devontae Smith. Some of those catches he made in traffic.
Some of the catches that he made, and then not only in traffic, but then getting the first down on a couple. He had to break some tackles and fight.
Yeah. And he did. And it's awesome to see. And I think we're just, maybe, I'm not saying we're numb to it, but maybe we overlook it a little bit because it's been 2 years now. But this 1-2 punch is the best the Eagles have ever had in their team history. History.
Javier, that skinny guy is strong.
Skinny guy is
He's
strong.
deceptively strong. Again, for as fast as AJ Brown is, I forget how strong Devontae Smith is when he has to be.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. And, looking at this offense and this team in general, they could have easily put up over 40 points.
Yeah, stuff went wrong.
The turnovers, it wasn't crisp, rusty, which, again, it was rusty last year. It was kind of rusty a little bit to start when they played in 2022 against Detroit in that first game. They had to score a lot of points. And, they scored 34 points. And
against all odds, too. Again, we cannot overstress the conditions of that field being as bad as they were.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And listen, this is a huge game because you're playing an NFC team. You get the win. And, I'm not sure how bad the injury to Jordan Love. I know he got hurt at the end of the game.
Did you follow any of the stuff today? Because I have a kind of update.
Yeah, I saw it was like an MCL.
It looks like it's an MCL sprain, which is about 3 to 4 weeks. But I will say, when you zoom in, it does look like the knee popped.
Yeah. But,
which, by the way, ends the Packers season. Malik Willis does not take this team to the playoffs.
Well, if he's only out 3 to 4 weeks, there's still
Right.
opportunity.
If the knee popped and he's done, though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. No,
Malik
I
Willis
agree.
does not take the team to the playoffs, and neither does Sean Clifford, who I learned last week is the third-string quarterback.
Yes, sir. But you know, you never want to see a guy get injured, especially a young guy. He just got a contract extension. He's their franchise guy. You never want to see that. But
And by the way, shout out to Jalen Hurts. And I was almost expecting it because I know the kind of guy that Jalen Hurts is. But for the end of the game, for him to go over and find Jordan Love on the bench, go over to the Packers sideline and just, hey, great battle. But that's Jalen Hurts. You want to talk about a leader? That's Jalen Hurts.
And I also heard too, I saw that those two guys really don't know each other either. So it's not
They're
like
the same draft class, but that's about it.
Yeah, they don't really know each other. But for him to do that, it's super stand up. It's just the type of person he is.
Joe saying, I think Juergens held up great under pressure. Reading Kelsey, the field was terrific, but he didn't give up any sacks. 2 bad snaps, not bad. I think Juergens definitely needs some improvement. Again, I want to say once again, Mekhi Becton at right guard is almost a cheat code.
Listen, this is the other thing too. When the Packers go down and they get a field goal, when it's actually after Eagles make them punt and then they punt them back, and the Eagles, it was like 7 minutes left, like 7 minutes and 50 seconds or something like that. The Eagles took that.
Yep.
And they chewed up 7 minutes and like 30 seconds.
You were able to because you have Saquon Barkley running the ball.
I'm just saying, that looked of like the 2022-esque, all right, let's just eat the rest of this clock out. Let's get this win. And they were able to do that. And, to me, it's a scary task for defenses to be able to game plan for this team because you don't know which way they're going to hit you because you have a Devontae, you have a AJ, a Dallas Goedert, Saquon Barkley, this offensive line, and then you throw in guys like Dotson's still learning the office. He's still,
right.
There's things there that they're doing, and then you have these new coordinators and Kellen Moore being able to game plan and do what he does and the motion that they use, because the motion that they use, the 66% motion, was the most that the Eagles have had in a single game since 2020. It has been just about 4 years, almost 4 years, since they've had, that much motion on their offense and not that stay stagnant, which to me really doesn't help you a whole hell of a lot when the defense just doesn't watch anybody move and doesn't have to move, and they kind of pick their spots. You want to do that. And that's the game of the NFL. It's what it is right now.
Yeah. For a team that, Javier was saying, for a team that hadn't played together any games this season, they didn't disappoint. I'm excited to see if they can fix the small mishaps they had in this game. Yeah, and listen, like we were kind of saying, there were some big mishaps as well. YouTube Crazy Chunky Cat is saying trade Pickett to the Packers. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. No objections here. I don't think that I don't think that anybody wants him per se.
Yeah. Listen, and we
barely want him.
The thing about like week 1 is you look at around the NFL, that Thursday night game had a ton of mishaps and mistakes and everything. You're going to have that.
For it to end by a literal toe.
I did see that if it was Deion Sanders. Yeah, you saw that. Okay. Yeah. But no, listen, they got the win. Like we always say, you get out of there 1-0, especially with everything that, going down to South America, such a long flight. We weren't at home, all that stuff. For me, it's just, you got out of there. You got the win. That's what matters. Now move on.
I think that the Eagles also did a really good job with, we probably built up the South America storylines a little more than they did. I mean, you had multiple guys coming out and saying, listen, it was an amazing experience out here. Everything was great. Everything was wonderful. And again, we're over here going, was it though? But at least the Eagles professionally did everything right.
Yeah. No, you're right. I don't know. I just like them coming back to this. I'm just not a huge fan of the overseas. I get what they're trying to do.
I mean, neither am I.
But I guess I don't care about those games as long as they're not my team playing in it, I guess. That's kind of how I feel. And it kind of sucks because you lose a home game. Maybe that's the biggest thing too.
But that's the other reason why they try to go around it. And the Jaguars are the notorious international team, but they have to make all these other teams. Like, they put two of the most financially impressive franchises in South America for a reason.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the I think, isn't it the Giants and Panthers playing in London or something, or Germany this year?
Jaguars are going to 2 different international games this year again.
So,
but to be fair, they can't get anybody to fill in a game in Jacksonville, so might as well go international. Javier would like us to rate the coordinators.
Okay.
After game 1,
I'm going to give Kellen Moore a B. And, I'm going to go B across the board because Fangio, listen, he's taking this defense, youth, a lot of young players on this defense. And did they get, chewed up a little bit, but they made a lot of key stops in that game. And, I'm totally fine with it. And look, he took a guy in Zach Bond who was primarily special teamer in New Orleans, edge rusher.
The needle did not move when we signed him.
and he was also an edge rusher too at Wisconsin, and put him in the inside. And the guy had 15 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, 5 pressures. He had a hell of a game. So that man deserves his flowers because I know he's going to get his players to play for him. And listen, that's all that I ask for is these guys to play with an edge, which they're going to. And one, I can't wait for Sidney Brown to come back because I think he fits so well in this type of defense because they'll hit you and they're not going to shy away from it. So, and Dean played great also. I also mentioned that too. Yeah, Dean made some really good plays in the run game. He had that one play where he diagnosed Emmanuel Wilson coming out of the backfield and lit him up.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was like Sheldon Brown-esque hit on Reggie Bush.
It was
beautiful.
The only thing that I was kind of disappointed with him was the dropped interception.
Yeah, that was bad.
It led right to a touchdown right away or after that, which sucked. It would have been a pick 6. And then the other thing that kind of sucked was when I think it was later on. It was definitely later on in the game. Slay made a tackle on Jacobs and he fumbled it and it went right to the Packers. It's like you kind of want these balls to start falling the Eagles' way. Then they wind up getting an interception then too. But that's one thing that they didn't do last year that they did in 2020.
Turnovers.
The turnovers, the opportunistic being able to cause the turnovers. And, hopefully it's going to start to, because sometimes turnovers come in bunches. So, we'll see what they do with that.
I agree. I give Kellen Moore. I'm going to go B+. I was so impressed with all the different wrinkles he was already adding in. And Fangio, I'm going to give a B+ too as well. I mean, some of the players didn't necessarily do their parts, and it was the players that you kind of really wanted them to. So, like we talked about the edge rushers, we talked about Maddox had a tough game. We talked about some things that just weren't great, but overall the teams were prepared. Yeah. So for a first game when you're new coordinators and you're still learning your personnel and you don't play your starters the whole preseason, I can't ask for a crazy amount more for the first game of the season.
So I will say this before we sign off here. The last thing I want to bring up, because it also ties into next week's game. So when you look at Jordan Love and the Eagles pass rush, Jordan Love does move around really well. Mm-hmm. So he was able to escape some of the rush that Eagles were able to put on there. They play Kirk Cousins next week, coming off of an Achilles. He's not going to be shifty, moving around all that great. So, maybe these guys be able to get home a little bit more against a quarterback that doesn't run really well at all and is coming off a major injury. So definitely something to keep an eye on with that Eagles pass rush, because that's something that I am keying on and focusing on this upcoming week.
I mean, and we're, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. We're going to obviously talk about this on our Wednesday night show. But Kirk Cousins has had quite a lot of success against us because of the speed at which he gets the ball out. So that's the one thing. I mean, our edge rushers are going to have to get home. But again, that's Wednesday night. Don't waste time.
No, you said success. Success in terms of maybe numbers, but not success in terms of wins.
Statistically.
There you go. Better that way. But yeah, you know, it is what it is. They got the win, 1-0. That's all we ask. And we'll see you back here on Wednesday night, where we have Myles Garrett from Fox Atlanta to talk the inside swoop on the Atlanta Falcons. So we will chat it up with him, get his insights on those dirty birds down south. And, you know, with that, we always end it with these two special words. Go Birds!
This is Matt Ware. Hey, for all the Eagle content you need, go follow All About the Birds. They do a damn thing. Check them out.
Hey, Eagles fans, I may be in Tampa, but I know where to find the best Eagles content out there. Check out my friends at All About the Birds.
Philadelphia, what's up? This your boy Freddie Mitchell, a.k.a. Fred X. It's all about the bird.
All birds all the time. All birds all the time.
All About the Birds provides you with weekly analysis, game recaps, informative interviews, and it's all birds all the time.